Welcome to this evening's presentation about Community Choice Aggregation in the City of Rochester. My name is Susan Hughes Smith, and I am with Rocktricity, the local program manager. If you contact our offices, which are on South Avenue, you might get a hold of myself or my colleagues, Ben Freevert, Margie Pete, or Melissa Carlson. This night's presentation, we have an ASL interpreter. Thank you, Hannah. And we have a Spanish language interpretation by Julitza. Thank you, Julitza. Muchas gracias. The other members of this partnership include Jewel Community Power. They are the approved CCA administrator by New York State. And of course, the City of Rochester, which is trying to fulfill its commitments to its climate action plan to shift our community away from fossil fuels and reduce our carbon footprint. En español.
Bienvenidos a la presentación de Community Choice Aggregation para la ciudad de Rochester. Este programa es una asociación entre la ciudad, Jewel Community Power y Rocktricity. La ciudad de Rochester ha creado un plan de acción climática y el CCA es un paso de acción para reducir la huella de carbono de la comunidad. Jewel es el administrador del CCA aprobado por el estado de Nueva York. Rocktricity es el administrador del programa local con oficinas ubicadas en South Avenue. Si llama a nuestras oficinas en Rocktricity, puede hablar conmigo, Susan Hughes Smith, Margie Pete, Melissa Carlson o Ben Freeberg.
Gracias. Okay, this evening, I will review what Community Choice Aggregation is and the benefits of a CCA program, which organizations can implement CCA, how it works, and the steps that were taken to implement CCA. I will just touch briefly on community solar, sometimes known as community distributed generation, and those benefits. En español.
Esta noche vamos a estar hablando sobre qué es la agrupación de opciones comunitaria o el CCA en inglés, cuáles son los beneficios del CCA, qué organizaciones pueden implementar el CCA, cómo funciona el CCA, cuáles son los pasos para implementar el CCA, qué es la generación distribuida comunitaria o también conocida como la comunidad solar y cuáles son los beneficios de la energía solar.
Gracias. So before we look at the details of CCA, let's kind of just step back and look at the big picture of where electricity is coming from. If you use the EPA Power Profiler website, you can put our zip code into the program and it will show us where the electrons that are on our part of the grid, so on our part of the wires, where they are coming from. And what it shows is about 30% of the electrons are coming from fossil fuel generation, 31% from nuclear, 32% from hydropower, but only 7% from other renewables. Most of that is from wind. En español.
Antes de entrar en los detalles específicos del CCA, me gustaría brindarles información básica sobre dónde se generan los electrones. Estoy usando la información de la página de web del EPA. Cuando entramos el código postal para Rochester, esta es la información que nos da. El 30% de los electrones se generan a partir de plantas de fósiles combustibles, principalmente gas natural fracturado. Una cantidad similar proviene de las plantas de energía nuclear. El 32% surge de las centrales hidroeléctricas y solo 7% de renovables, principalmente eólicas. Estas plantas de energía crean los electrones que luego se transportan a través de los cables, lo que se llama la red de electricidad.
The part of our electricity that most of us are familiar with, of course, is our bill. So if you look at an electric bill, you will see that there are two sections. One is for the delivery services, and the other is called supply services. The delivery services portion of the bill are the charges that are needed for RG&E to take care of the wires and the poles and send us our bills and so forth. So that's the information and the money that is paying RG&E to take care of our grid. The second section, called supply services, are the charges associated with the actual electrons. This section may look a little confusing because it says supplier Rochester Gas and Electric. What that means is that if you haven't already made a choice, Rochester Gas and Electric will be purchasing electricity on your behalf. They are not generating electricity. These charges are simply a pass-through to the companies that they are purchasing electricity from. The second thing I want to point out is that there are more than one charge associated in this section. There are actually three pieces to the rate. En español? Julitza?
Cuando pagamos nuestras facturas de electricidad, en realidad estamos pagando por dos cosas distintas. Primero, estamos pagando por los propios electrones llamados el suministro y estamos pagando para que los electrones lleguen a nosotros, lo que se llama la entrega. La porción de la entrega paga para que RGE mantenga los postes, cables y pueda crear nuestras facturas. Este programa no cambia el rol de RGE. Por lo tanto, el programa no afecta la parte de entrega de la factura. El CCA cambia la parte del suministro de la factura. Por lo general, RGE compra la energía del mercado eléctrico a nuestro nombre y cuando lo hace, enumera esos cargos en los servicios de suministro. Esto cambiaría con el CCA.
Gracias. And thank you for pointing out that the role of RG&E is not changing and the CCA is only affecting the supply price. So what's happening now is that electrons are flowing from the generators of the electricity, the power plants, through the wires to our homes, hence the yellow line. Then we pay a bill, and we actually pay two parts to that bill. So we have two green lines leaving our house. One part of the bill stays with RG&E for the delivery, and the other part keeps going as they pay the various energy generators. If you put it all together, you can see the electricity flowing in one direction and, of course, the money flowing back. ¿En español?
En este diagrama que muestra el sistema sin CCA, podemos ver las líneas amarillas que indican cómo se mueven los electrones desde los generadores a los hogares y negocios. Luego verá las dos líneas verdes, una para la entrega y otra para el suministro. La empresa de servicios públicos, RGE, se queda con el pago de la entrega y envía el pago del suministro a los corredores generadores de electricidad.
Community Choice Aggregation was authorized by the Public Service Commission in 2016, and it is an energy purchase program. It allows municipalities to aggregate the energy demand and negotiate a bulk purchase. All energy customers are eligible to participate, but some are automatically included in the program. That's called opt-out. Whereas very large energy users are not automatically included. But if they want to participate, they could opt in. The distinction between opt-out and opt-in is based on the meter classification. So most residents and small businesses will be treated with the opt-out feature. En español.
¿Qué es la agrupación de opciones comunitarias o el CCA en inglés? Es un programa de compra de energía autorizado por la Comisión de Servicio Público en abril del 2016. Esto permite a los municipios agregar la demanda de energía y negociar compras al por mayor, y todos los clientes de energía son elegibles para participar, pero algunos están automáticamente en el programa, optar por no participar, y algunos deben optar por participar según la clasificación de su servicio.
Gracias. So here's the picture again without CCA, and now I'm going to change it and add CCA in. What we're hoping to have happen is that the fossil fuel generation will shrink while the renewable generation will grow. Nothing else really changes, especially for the customers. You still get one bill from RG&E. RG&E will still take care of the wires and the lines and the poles. And it just means that the utility company, RG&E, has just another energy supply company to send money to.
En este diagrama muestra lo que sucede cuando se agrega el CCA. Notará que la cantidad de electricidad renovable está creciendo. Este es nuestro objetivo y los programas del CCA deberían facilitar esto con el tiempo. Realmente no cambia mucho más. RGE aún se ocupa de la red y envía el pago a los proveedores.
So the benefits of CCA include reducing the electric rate for residents and small businesses, reducing the price volatility through seeking a fixed rate in longer-term contracts. We hope this will accelerate the transition to renewable energy and encourage local renewable energy development and jobs. If you look at the diagram on the left, you'll see that the market rate for electricity goes up and down and up and down. The utility is required to purchase electricity at the market rate. The rules for a CCA program are different, and CCA administrators can seek a fixed rate. So the straight green line represents the CCA rate. 1 month, the CCA rate might be higher than the market rate, but another month it might be lower. The goal is for the CCA rate to save customers money over the time of the contract. Oh. Por favor, en español.
¿Cuáles son los beneficios del CCA? Son tarifas eléctricas reducidas para residentes y pequeñas empresas, reducir la volatilidad de los precios a través de contratos de tasa fija y más largo plazo, puede acelerar la transición a la energía renovable, estimular el desarrollo y el empleo de energías renovables locales. RGE compra en el mercado cada mes y la tasa varía. Es por eso que la línea roja sube y baja. El programa CCA puede negociar por una tarifa fija, la línea verde recta. Algunos meses la tasa del CCA puede ser más alta que el mercado. Algunos meses será más baja. Pero al elegir un precio que sea competitivo con las tarifas promedio de RGE, intentamos generar ahorros durante la duración del programa. No es una garantía de ahorro, pero la mayoría de los programas de CCA han generado ahorros.
Gracias. The CCA program is not a guarantee savings, but most programs have created savings. So who can authorize CCA programs? Well, the way the rules are written, the smallest level of government, wherever you are living, has to pass the local law to enable CCA. So if you are in a village or a town or a city, the smallest government would create your CCA program. For the City of Rochester, of course, it's the city government that has passed the local law. When needed, multiple municipalities can work together to form a single program. In the case of the City of Rochester, you're already large enough. You don't have to wait for any other communities to join you. You'll be able to move forward all by yourself. En español.
¿Quién puede autorizar el CCA? Pueblos y ciudades y varios municipios pueden trabajar juntos para formar un CCA que sirve a varias comunidades y agrega aún más a la demanda de energía. La autorización requiere la aprobación de una legislación habitable local.
Gracias. So the rules for CCA established by the Public Service Commission allow for the aggregation of electric supply, gas supply, or both. Over time, we hope programs will include energy efficiency and distributed energy resources like solar. Customers are enrolled on an opt-out basis, but it has to be easy for you to exit the program, and it is free. It may include customers already contracted with ESCOs on an opt-in basis. It also may choose a 100% renewable electricity supply as the default, and that's our hope for the Rochester program. Por favor.
Una descripción general del programa de CCA es que puede agregar suministro de gas, suministro eléctrico o ambos. Puede incluir eficiencia y recursos energéticos distribuidos como la energía solar, clientes que están inscritos a base de exclusión voluntaria, pero la exclusión es hecha fácil. Puede incluir clientes ya contratados con la compañía de energía de forma voluntaria y puede elegir un suministro de electricidad 100% renovable predeterminado.
So now we're constructing a table of options. What are the options available to consumers? And CCA is just adding another option. Let me explain. If you look at the chart, on the first row, you have the ability to choose to have RG&E purchase electricity for you. That's an option today. In fact, it's the default option. But with CCA, you could still choose to have RG&E purchase your electricity. You would just have to opt out of the CCA program. Second, could you choose your own energy company called an ESCO? You can do that today. You will also still be able to do that if a CCA program is operational, but you would have to opt out of the CCA program, or if you'd already had that ESCO, you simply would remain out of the CCA program. And finally, can you enjoy the benefits of bulk purchasing? Right now, that is not an option without the CCA program, but soon with CCA, that will be the default choice. You won't have to do anything and you could benefit from bulk buying benefits. Por favor.
El CCA crea una opción más para los clientes que tienen beneficios que las otras opciones no tienen. Me explico. Si ven el gráfico, hay varias opciones disponibles para los clientes. Usted puede elegir su electricidad que sea administrada por la red pública, puede elegir electricidad suministrada por un ESCO y puede disfrutar de los beneficios de la compra al por mayor que en este momento no están disponibles con el CCA.
So remember this graph where our electrons are coming from today? Well, we're hoping that CCA will, over time, bring fossil fuels to zero, and we'll have a carbon-free electricity mix. Por favor.
En este diagrama muestra el objetivo de eliminar los combustibles fósiles de la red de electricidad.
Okay, gracias. Okay, so CCA can help communities enjoy renewable sourcing, lower rates, and more options. Por favor.
El CCA puede ayudar a las comunidades a disfrutar abastecimiento renovable, tasas más bajas y más opciones.
So now we're happy to take your questions. If you are using Zoom, you can submit questions via the Q&A button. So if you find the Zoom toolbar near the bottom of your screen, usually, bring your cursor down there and the Q&A button should pop up and you can type us a question. If you have a question another day, you can call us at 585-244-0244. You can always send us an email at info@rochestercommunitypower.com. Yeah, go ahead.
En este momento vamos a hacer una sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Si está utilizando Zoom, en la parte de abajo de su pantalla, si puede ver el botón que dice K y A, aplique ese botón y puede poner sus preguntas ahí. Si necesita llamarnos, nos puede llamar al número que está en la pantalla, o si tiene preguntas en español, nos puede llamar al 585-866-2500 o mándenos un correo electrónico a info@rochestercommunitypower.com.
Gracias. Okay, any questions coming in for us this evening?
Yeah, there are a couple of questions, Sue. So first one, who confirms that the electrons truly come from renewable sources?
Thanks for that, Ben. So I guess I should be more precise. What community choice aggregation does is it allows us to track purchasing. So we are in fact purchasing renewable electrons as opposed to knowing what electron is entering into our homes and businesses. That, of course, is impossible to really track. And that's why instead we track purchasing habits. The purchasing, I'm sorry, Ben, is basically there is a contract for renewable energy, and that contract then is enforceable, and there are energy tracking systems for knowing how much renewable energy goes on the grid and how much of that renewable energy is being purchased. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, another question. I have Delaware River Solar. How does that compare to this CCA?
Okay, so if I understand correctly, Delaware River Solar is a community solar operation. So you may have been subscribed to a community solar farm. And the good news is that community solar works really well with community choice aggregation. You don't have to choose between them. In fact, using both of them maximizes your savings and maximizes your commitment to renewable generation. So thank you for doing it.
So another question, why no geothermal? I guess this sort of gets to the question about why the renewable sources that are part of the mix are part of the mix.
So another good question. Geothermal, just to be clear, there are some power plants that create electricity through geothermal, but they're located in very specific places around the country, and there aren't any geothermal facilities in New York State. You might have a geothermal system for heating your home, but that's a different use of the ground's heat. Okay, so homes and businesses might use a geothermal system to heat them, but we don't have any geothermal power plants available in our section of the grid. So it would be impossible to purchase any electrons from those types of power plants here in New York. What is available in abundance in New York is hydropower. There are dozens and dozens of hydropower facilities all across New York State. And so that makes up the bulk of our renewable generation. And then the next largest one available is wind. Over time, we hope to see more wind and solar available in New York State.
Yeah, one more question just coming in. What is the timeline? When would this be available to the City of Rochester?
Another great question. So we are right now just finishing the education phase that's required by the Public Service Commission. We will then have to submit the documentation that we've completed these presentations. And as soon as the Public Service Commission approves the paperwork, then we'll be able to move into the next stage where we're able to get data from the utility and begin to look for energy products, electricity products in the marketplace. So this will still take another 3 months at a minimum before it's operational. Because once there's a acceptable bid, electric bid, we will have to do another round of presentations to share what the details of the program specifically will be.
That at least exhausts the questions for the moment. So
Okay. All right.
unless we get another one while you're wrapping things up.
All right. Well, if you have more questions or you want to keep track of the developments, Rochester Community Power has a website, right? rochestercommunitypower.com. You will find information, links to fact sheets in both English and Spanish. You'll find our contact information. You also can just write down if you have more questions that you can give us a call or to email us at info@rochestercommunitypower.com. Rocktricity and Jewel look forward to partnering with the City of Rochester to make one of these programs available. Thanks for participating this evening. Have a good night.